Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia. I am a recently qualified veterinarian, and this video is going to be all about how you can pass the North American Veterinary Licensing exam. Whether you're a international student, a US student, or you're just curious about what the exam entails and how to pass it, this may be the video for you. I'm going to be breaking it all down. What is the exam? How do you apply for it? How to prepare, and what the actual exam day looks like. So let's get into it. So the first question you might have is, what exactly is the NAVLE? Now, the NAVLE is the exam that you need to legally pass in order to be able to practice veterinary medicine in the US or in Canada. It's a 360 question multiple choice exam designed to test whether you're ready to be a competent vet across all species. So it's not just specific on dogs or cats or exotics, it covers everything. In the exam, you'll face clinical scenarios, they may even throw in a few photos or videos, and it's going to cover everything from dogs, cats, horses, pigs, exotics, deer, bears. However, it is worth noting most of the things that you're going to be covering in the exam are going to be focused around the main core species, we say, such as dogs, cats, equine and bovine. So the next thing you might be thinking is, who actually needs to take the NAVLE? So you'll need to take the NAVLE if you are a final year vet student at a AVMA accredited school who is looking to study in the United States or pursue internships or get a job over in the US or Canada. What I would recommend is to go on the NAVLE website and read through the requirements for each state or province and check that you meet the requirements in order to practice there. So next, how do we actually apply for the NAVLE? So for the 2025 to 2026 testing cycles, you're going to be able to sit your NAVLE on these dates. So I have the testing cycle here. I'm going to put it on the screen just so everything is on there for you. But it says this is everything. So from testing, application periods, the dates, and when you'll get your scores. So if we have a look on the NAVLE website, it says the October to November testing window. The application period is between June 2nd and July 15th. The testing date will be October 15th to November 15th, and you will get your scores approximately a month or so after. So the window they've given is between December 15th and December 27th. So if we go to the March testing window, we have December the 1st to January the 7th is when you'll be applying. Testing date will be from March 1st to March 21st, and you'll get your scores again about a month or so after. And you can see on screen here for the additional one, July to August, it follows a similar pattern. So the NAVLE process is broken down into three main steps. You have to complete the online application, receive approval from your university to actually take the NAVLE, and look out for your admission and scheduling permits. Step 2 is going to be preparing for the NAVLE. So that will be scheduling your appointment and also making sure that you're studying and revising. And then step 3 will be you actually sat in the exam room taking the test. Now there are a whole bunch of eligibility requirements, so I can pop them on the screen, and I'll also have everything linked down below for you. So just make sure you give them a full read over and make sure that if you are thinking about applying for this test, just so you're not wasting time or money. So a lot of people ask, how much is it to take the NAVLE? And I'm not gonna lie, this exam is pretty expensive. The standard fee as of the new application cycle is $800. Now, if you're planning on sitting the NAVLE outside of the US, you can expect to pay an additional $380 on top of that in order to be able to take the test in your home country. Let's talk a little bit more about the exam format. So the NAVLE is 360 questions and it's divided into 6 blocks. Each block has 60 questions and you'll get 65 minutes per block and a total of 45-minute break time for you to use however you want. The total test time for this exam, can I get a drum roll please, is 7.5 hours. So this is a super long exam. It's a computer-based exam, if I didn't mention before, and it's taken at Prometric, which is kind of the company or software that they use, testing centres across the UK or US. So next we're going to talk about what to expect on the actual exam day. So I would recommend on your exam day arriving at least half an hour before your actual testing window. You need to make sure that you're bringing 2 forms of ID. This can either be a passport and a driving licence, but one of them must be government issued and have your photograph on it. You'll go through security, they may do fingerprint, take your photo, and there'll be lockers for your personal belongings or your lunch or things to store throughout the day. There's no food or drink allowed in the actual testing area, but you are allowed to leave, go grab a drink or grab some food, something like that. They often take you to a computer cubicle and you'll have some noise cancelling headphones and you'll sit down, and that's where you'll be able to start your test. One thing I would recommend is plan your breaks strategically. Make sure you bring snacks, lots of water, and don't rely too heavily on caffeine or things like that to get you through, because this test is long and you do not want to be crashing throughout. One thing that I did was I really had to do some self-reflection on what kind of test taker I am. I know that at the beginning of a test I have a bunch of adrenaline and it's really easy for me to get through a lot of questions kind of back to back without needing to have a rest. Where I start to struggle, and a lot of people do, is at the end of the testing window where maybe you're a little bit low on energy, you've got that brain fog, you just want to quit. So I use the majority of my break time towards the end of my test rather than taking an hour or two at the beginning. Another thing that people always ask me is, how is the NAVLE scored? Now, I have no idea how they actually score this, but I know it's scaled out of 800 and you need at least 425 to pass. Score is based on how many questions you get right, and I think they adjust it to the difficulty of the exam that you take. When you're waiting for your results, it's a horrible, horrible time, I know. You'll get an email through, you go onto the ICVA or the NAVLE dashboard, and it will have your score there ready for you to download. You click download and then your score will come up on the screen. I'm happy to share my score. I didn't get a particularly incredible score, but it was enough for me to pass, just so you can see what it looks like and how it's kind of measured on the graph. So in big bold letters, you'll either get if you fail or pass the exam, and that's pretty much it. And then it will measure you against, like, I guess everyone else who took the exam as well. Where people struggle the most, especially around getting NAVLE results, is when you open that score report and it says fail. Now, I know a lot of people that have been in that exact situation, and it's a horrible feeling. I was fortunate in that I passed it first time, but that has no reflection on you as a vet or your capabilities. I think a large proportion of this exam is studying, but it's also kind of luck. Everyone's going to get a different bank of questions, so if you're not particularly good on pig diarrhea or things like that and you get a load of pig centre questions, that could set you back a bit. But I would say whatever the score you get, try not to let it dishearten you, because most people do pass on a second or third attempt, and I just googled it, you have a maximum of 5 attempts to sit the NAVLE. So if you don't pass your first time, you're going to be okay, you can do it again. Chances are on your second or third time you're going to absolutely smash it. So I would say my NAVLE tips for success are: don't focus too much on vet prep or the ICVA self-assessments. Revise in a way that's comfortable for you, that you know you're going to benefit from. Another big one is know common diseases for different species, like BRD in cattle, FIP in cats, colic in horses. A lot of the NAVLE, and it kind of goes against everything they teach us, especially at my university, about pattern recognition. A lot of the NAVLE is going to be pattern recognition. There's a lot of things that come up and you'll kind of know the answer without even knowing the reasoning, which is one thing that I'm not a massive fan of with this exam. Another tip is, don't just recognise the disease, but know how to treat. This is super, super important. I would say focus on the most common diseases and know the treatment plans for them or the preventative measures, because those are the things that are likely going to be coming up. There's things like people always laugh about, seahorse questions, things like that, and yeah, those are worth the guess, but they're not going to be the deal breaker for you on the exam day. Another thing that I said before is use your breaks wisely. You've got 45 minutes, so make sure that you're splitting that up and make sure you actually use them. Don't try and power through all 7.5 hours of this exam, because it is a nightmare. My final tip is trust your gut on the exam day. I am an absolute sucker for this. I will literally talk myself out of everything. Once you've answered a question, move on. If you're unsure, flag the question and then come back to it at the end of your testing window if you have time. NAVLE is a time sensitive exam, so you need to make sure that you're used to being able to read quite large chunks of information within a given time and produce some kind of answer from that. Now, you need to be able to do that realistically within 1 minute, I would say, the maximum. There's going to be questions that might take you 15 seconds and there might be questions that take you a little bit longer, but your average throughout the exam needs to be around 1 minute per question. And you can check that. There's always a little timer box and there'll be a calculator and things. Anything that you need will be available to you on the day. But I would say get used to answering questions fast and being able to read all of that information and absorb it, process it, and then make something out of it. I know the NAVLE is tough, and for me, I was really nervous about taking it on the day. I thought, there's a lot of pressure on people, it's a lot of money, but it is actually more passable than people think as long as you do the preparation. And believe me, if I can pass that exam, anyone can. So let me know down below the comments on your NAVLE journey if you have any tips or tricks that you can share with people. I know this video isn't going to be extensive, but I hope this gives you kind of a feel about what the exam is like. If you'd like a more specific video on like how I actually studied, although I basically did what I do for every exam, which was sit down with my notes and a whiteboard and go through the species and diagnoses. I will list everything down below that I've spoken about as much as I can, and there are a lot of really good videos that help me on the day, so I'll make sure to link those down below as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this with your classmates that might also be taking the NAVLE, and of course if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can also give me a message over my Instagram, which is @thesecretvet, or over on TikTok. Everything has the same username. So good luck when you're taking your NAVLE, and I can't wait to hear how you all do.